Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are talking right now with Steve from collegefootballwinning.com, previewing a game from Week 7 in college football. And Steve's formula picks was supposedly kicked in at his website now. And, of course, he is 4-0 against the spread on the 4 free picks he's given with us this year so far. Steve, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you for having me back, Peter.
All right, so the formula picks have begun at your website. Tell us quickly, how'd you do last week?
Yes, you're right, Peter. They just started Week 6 last week. We needed enough current season performance data on the field before our formula kicks in. The formula is now this season 66.67% against the spread. That sounds great, but in reality, to be candid, it's just 2-1. So that means we've had 3 formula picks. We won 2 out of 3 so far.
All right. Well, hey, winners are winners. You were winners last year, winners this year, winners in our videos. And right now you're going to give us your opinion on Tulsa and Temple. Before we get to that, just once again, give people a quick overview of collegefootballwinning.com.
Great. I'd be happy to. At collegefootballwinning.com, all we do is college football, betting analysis, betting recommendations all year round. We are a company founded on making those betting recommendations algorithmically, and we call those algorithmic betting recommendations our formula. And our formula, as I just said, 2-1 to start this season. Okay, very small sample size, but over the long haul, it is 63.04%. That's lifetime against the spread. That's nearly 350 college football games, Peter. 63.04% against the spread. That formula last season was 66.18% against the spread. So that means, in real money terms, the bettor who wagered $110 to win $100 on every formula unit we recommended last season finished up $2,756. The dime bettor, the guy who wants to win $1,000 on every formula unit that we recommended last season, finished up $27,560. So we hope that people want to join us. As I said, you've only missed 3 of our formula betting recommendations so far this season. So you have the entire rest of the season with us for those formula picks. So go to collegefootballwinning.com, put in coupon code SBR10, that's SBR10. You'll get 10% off of any membership that we're currently offering, and we are still offering a 100% money-back guarantee on the rest of the entire season.
All right, that sounds great. Steve from collegefootballwinning.com. We'll see what you can tell us about Tulsa Temple, right? Interesting game here. Right now, Temple is a big favorite, minus 17.5. And, they opened at 14.5. And I admit that I bet that, and so far, based on the line movement, seems like it was a decent thing to do. Kind of an obvious thing to do, though. Temple has been a very good bet on the year. Tulsa's been a terrible bet on the year. Temple looking like a live team that can win by a margin. Tulsa looking like the kind of team that you want to be betting against in most situations so far. The total is 57 or 57.5. So I don't know. Do you think Temple had value at 14.5? And if so, does it still have value now at 17.5? What do you think, Steve?
Well, Peter, I hope you are ready for this week's installment of What If.
I am.
Okay, here we go. What if I told you that Tulsa has failed to cover the spread by an average of 13.75 points per game so far this season? That's nearly 2 touchdowns. That's a margin of cover of minus 13.75 per game.
I'd say, sure, I knew that. Look at any, gambling stats page, and you can see that pretty clearly.
Okay, so you are unfazed so far.
Right.
All right, how about this one? What if I told you that Temple has covered the spread by an average of 18.63 points per game so far this season? That's a margin of cover per game of plus 18.63.
Yep, I would say I knew that. Every other square in the country knows that, and that's why we all bet Temple at the opening line.
Okay, still totally unfazed. What if I told you that this week is homecoming for Temple, and they're coming off of their second bye week of the season?
I would say, I didn't know that. There you go, Steve. You got me on that one.
Okay, got you there. Now, this one, I don't know, you might not be too fazed by this at all, but you probably didn't know this. By underclassmen, Tulsa, what if I told you that Tulsa has the 3rd youngest team in the FBS, measured by the number of underclassmen on the roster?
No, I didn't know that.
And
Shoot.
you probably wouldn't.
All right.
Probably wouldn't catch much. But okay, you didn't know that, so there
Right.
you go. What if I told you, this is a good one, that Tulsa has fallen behind a combined 104-0 before scoring any points in its first 5 games of the season?
I would say, no, I didn't know that, but based on my 5-second handicapping of this game, I knew Tulsa basically sucks, and that's why I bet against them on the opening line.
Okay, and building off of that, they have an average of just 5.6 points in the first half of all their football games so far. All right, now what if I told you, here, how about this one? This should be pretty good. Temple ranks number 1 in the country in turnover margin. Tulsa ranks 125th.
I would say, well, that's not so great, but I know that turnovers are more predictive in college football than they are in the NFL. I know there's still a big element of randomness turnovers in college, but not nearly as much as in the NFL.
You're good, Peter. I'm going to
Yes.
give you that. You are good. You're reading into something that's coming later. Okay, what if that ended with, and you already said this, Temple's favored by 17.5 points, but I'll remind you and everyone else that their margin of cover alone is plus 18.83, and Tulsa's is minus 13.75. So at minus 17.5, Temple seem like in the attractive side here?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm smelling a winner for Peter Loshak's bank account there at 14.5. I actually bought it down to 14.
Oh, you're good. Thank you. You played right into this. I think this is a trap once again.
Wow, no way, really? Okay, well, tell us why.
Okay. Once again, this game jumped out at me quantitatively. And what I do with you, Peter, with everyone, is I always look at those, what look to be quantitative traps, and then I look into it qualitatively to see what's going on there. Why would bookmakers be trying to trap us here? Okay, so let's get started. By our metrics, Temple so far has played the 3rd weakest schedule. So games already played. 3rd weakest of all the FBS teams playing this week. In fact, the only team that Temple has played in the top 100, according to how we rank teams, is Navy. And by the way, Temple lost both straight up and against the spread to Navy. So there's issue number 1, strength of schedule. Okay, issue number 2. The teams that Temple has faced this season have averaged 23 passes per game against Temple. Tulsa averages 46 passes per game. And by the way, depending on how you count this, 2 to 3 of Temple's 4 starters in their secondary, they're first-year starters. And their entire defense, their starting defense, they don't have a senior among them. Okay, so let's look at that. All right. In fact, speaking of offensive plays, Tulsa averages nearly 86 offensive plays per game. Temple has defended so far this season an average of 64.5 plays per game. So they've never faced an offense that's run more than 71 plays this season. So they have not faced an up-tempo offense like Tulsa has. In fact, so far in Temple head coach Matt Rule's 2 seasons at Temple, when Temple had to defend at least 80 plays per game, and once again, Tulsa's averaging nearly 86 offensive plays per game, Temple is 0-3 straight up and just 1-2 against the spread. Now, Tulsa ranks 126th of 128 FBS teams, just terrible, in giving up big plays, defined as at least 30 yards from the line of scrimmage. So they're part of what has hurt Tulsa is giving up those big plays. Temple's not going to do that to them. Temple ranks 103rd in the country in making those big plays. So they don't have to worry about that with Temple. Now, turnovers. We brought up turnovers. Temple has scored 79 points off of turnovers in just 4 games. That's the best in the nation. Now, you break that down per game, that's 19.75 points per game. But let's recall now, knowing that's 19.75 points per game that they've scored off of turnovers. Let's recall that Temple's margin of cover is 18.63 points. So counting on points off of turnovers, in my opinion and in my experience, Peter, is really gambling. That category, turnovers, that's one of the most random, and I'm speaking for college football, not talking about the NFL or Canadian football, just college football. That's one of the least consistently predictive of all the college football statistics you could look at. In other words, Temple's offense is not manufacturing that many points themselves. In fact, in total offense versus the FBS, remembering that weak strength of schedule they've played so far, they only rank 107th in total offense. Totally unimpressive. Now, based on how odds makers have been rating these teams, had these two teams played in the same location, so at Temple in week 1, Temple would have been favored by just 8 to 8.5 points. So what have they done, and what has Tulsa done to merit such a huge line right here? But believe it or not, according to odds makers, not bookmakers, odds makers, the quantitative guys who are setting power ratings, this game should be a much higher spread. So I think this is a trap here, Peter. And our trap detector so far, and this is what triggered this once again, quantitative trap detector, is now 65.52% correct so far this season. It's a sample size of 29 games. So it's significant enough for us to say, pay attention. However, all that said, Peter, if this game goes to Tulsa plus 18 instead of where it is right now, plus 17.5, it's a no bet for us. Because as I told you before, we do not like to bet against line movement of more than 3 points. And it's right at 3 points right now. So therefore, hold off on betting this game. I know you can't, but others can. Hold off on betting this game until game day. If the line settles where it is now at Tulsa plus 17.5, or even worse, believe it or not, that you're not getting quite as many points for Tulsa, then take Tulsa. If the line is Tulsa plus 18 or more than that, just avoid this game.
All right, awesome. Super thorough analysis. Steve from collegefootballwinning.com. This isn't bad news for me because, if you bet as a public square person does early enough, then you can usually hedge out of it later on, which I can do, and I think I'm going to do based on your recommendation here, regardless of the line movement. Steve from collegefootballwinning.com recommending play on Tulsa plus 17.5 if the line stays there or lower. Thanks so much, Steve.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.